Hi, I'm Anna Yosin, and this is Whole-Soul Living. Today I'll be breaking down the extended side angle pose, Utthita Parsvakonasana. Some lineages call this, or a variation of this, Utthita Trikonasana, which is the extended triangle pose. And just know that in different lineages of yoga, some of poses that might look exactly the same will be called different things. So in case you get confused of like, hey, I thought this was triangle, or I thought this was extended triangle, not extended triangle. Just know that different lineages call them different things, so just kind of come to an acceptance of that. With that being said, let's go ahead and get our feet into position. Now, again, same thing with the triangle pose, the warrior two pose, all of those, our feet are the same. So I'm gonna bring my wingspan out, and I'm gonna find an alignment somewhere in the middle between my wingspan and my shoulders. So that being said, be mindful if you've got any knee injuries, and if you can't go very deep, maybe you just have a very, very shallow stance, and that's okay. But typically you want to be here. You don't necessarily need to go super, super deep into this super low warrior pose. We want to make sure that our joints are safe first and foremost before we go super, super deep. So that being said, we're going to start, this time I'm going to start with my right foot opening up. So let's have the feet parallel to the ends of the mat, right? Notice how that feels with your hips. You're going to tuck your tailbone under and push your hips forward. So you might feel this in your hip sockets. If you've got super tight hips, you want to make sure to do some hip openers and some warm-ups for your hips before doing any of these poses, so that way you don't put undue pressure on your other joints. That being said, I'm going to open up my right foot and point those toes towards the front of the mat. Now notice how my hips want to turn. That's okay, but we want to make sure this front leg is in alignment. So just kind of tilt the hips forward and back, side to side, and land somewhere in the middle. You don't want to feel pressure on that knee. So if your knee's kind of turning in like this, make sure you're pushing into the outside of the foot, pulling up on the arches, and we're engaging even the inner thigh and that outside glute, right? So that's why I said tuck that tailbone under, okay? This back foot, it can be parallel. It can also be a little bit angle inward, so maybe a 45-degree angle. Somewhere in there is totally fine. Now, if you find your hips are super, super tight, you can walk this back foot towards the side of the mat in the direction of the feet, right? So we don't necessarily have to be on that straight exact line. So again, traditionally in these poses, the front foot will go through the middle of the back foot, but not everyone has the anatomy for that, bone structure wise, ligament flexibility wise, or even muscle wise. So find your pose. What we don't want to do is have this back foot like way back here, because that puts a lot of pressure on that front knee. So at maximum, front foot goes through the middle of the back foot. You can line up your heels or even bring that back foot out a little further, so that way your hips have a little more room to open up there. So from there, now with our triangle pose, right, I'll go a little bit wider here. We drop our shoulders down, we're looking forward, drawing the navel in and up, and again we want to keep that lower back from going too far laterally, so we want to keep that lower back still, right? Bringing our arms in one line, so we're on a plane. We're in between two walls. Now a triangle, we would just go straight down. We're bending through that thoracic spine, spiraling the rib cage open, pulling the shoulders away from the ears, separating the shoulder blades, so we're reaching those hands in opposite directions. We can have a block here if we need to. Now the extended side angle is the same thing, but we're going to bend the front knee. Now important here, when we bend this knee, we want to make sure the knee stays directly over the ankle. What is most common here is that knee wants to roll in, and that comes from weak glutes, right? So we have to really engage the glute, keep the knee right over the ankle. Think about stacking your joints. So if your knee goes really far forward, just slide your back foot back a little bit, right? Or go up a little higher. You don't have to go super, super deep. If you need a block, use a block. There is no shame in that. But make sure the knee is right over the ankle. Another way to check that is when your torso is upright and you look down at your feet. If you can't see your big toe, you can open that up, okay? So from here, we've slid our hand down. Now maybe we can make contact, or we have a block here. Now what we can do is use our arm as leverage. So we're pushing our arm into our leg to help keep that hip open. Now it's okay if this back hip comes down a little bit. It's more important to protect this front knee than to try to keep those hips stacked. So I'm gonna open that up. You might feel that in your hip socket, that's okay. From here, we're also drawing the navel in and up. The inner abdominal wall, the pelvic floor muscles, we're to have that engagement. We're protecting the lower back. We're breathing into the bottom of the rib cage, not the belly. So for this one, we're gonna keep that active engagement here. Separating the shoulder blades, pulling your shoulders away from the ears, spiraling the ribs open, and look up if it doesn't hurt your neck. Now, if it hurts your neck, don't look up. You can hear my neck just cracked. Push to the outside of that back foot. And from here, we're just holding this. So again, this is the extended triangle or extended side angle. Another variation is to bring this top hand towards, I'd say, the top corner of the room, right? So we're still opening that rib cage up, but now we want a straight line from your fingers all the way here down through the bottom of that foot. So it's a diagonal angle there. So we're just opening that up there. And again, if it doesn't hurt your neck, you can look up. So we're spiraling open, right? And then from there, we can come up and out of that. Now, you might not have the lat flexibility to get super straight with those arms. If your traps are really tight, if your lats are really tight, if your pecs are really tight, you might not have that flexibility. Just work on it the best you can. What's more important is to protect the lower back. So again, as we're doing this lower back isn't laterally bending so much that way. We want to protect it there and then bend through the thoracic spine and then reach up with the arm. So we're opening up the side body this way, not this way, right? Because that lateral bend of that lower spine can put undue pressure on the discs and cause potentially bulging discs over time. So we don't want that to happen. So just be very mindful of that. I'm going to show you a little variation with a bind in the extended side angle. So as we go here, got our alignment, we've got our knee open, everything's engaged, right? Making sure that knee doesn't come in, keep it out, engage that back glute. Going down into this, we've got this side angle here. Now the bind is I'm going to take this bottom hand, reach it around my leg, and reach the top hand back behind, and maybe you can reach those hands together. So if I'm doing it this way, you can see I'm here in the extended angle, side angle. Bottom hand comes underneath and around, and then I'm going to reach my hands towards each other, pull this top shoulder back, and look up towards the ceiling, right? And if you don't have that flexibility, maybe you're here and you're just opening up. Maybe you're here and you're just opening up. But that is the bind option with that, and then that can lead into bird of paradise, which I'll make another video on that. So that is the extended side angle. Again, thoracic breathing, breathing into the bottom of the rib cage, using that Ujjayi breath as best you can. Pushing in and out, that long ocean breath. And we're still keeping the lower abdominal engaged the entire time, so not a big belly breath with that. I think that's about it for this one. If you have any questions, if something was not unclear, or if you have anything to add on to that, please feel free to put that in the comments below, and I'll be happy to respond to that. So with that, I hope you have a wonderful day. I wish you much peace, much love, and namaste.